Alaskan bush humans gave visitors a front-row seat to the rugged, untamed lives of the Brown-owned family as they tackled the unforgiving Alaskan wilderness, each member pulling their weight to keep their off-the-grid homestead thriving. From brutal winters to run-ins with flora and fauna, they confronted it all. But nobody expected the tragedy that could rock their circle of relatives to the middle and spell the give-up in their adventure on the show. What happened to shatter this wild legacy? Let's dig into the heartbreaking event that changed the whole thing: living off the land. The Brown family of Alaskan bush people turned into regarded for their unique self-enough lifestyle rooted deeply in the Bear region of Alaska, lengthy before their tale reached fact television. Living in isolation, some distance from the conveniences of present-day society, they adapted to the harsh Alaskan terrain, locating methods to survive with restricted assets. They by no means expected to head a large reality TV show that human beings everywhere in the international cherish, and additionally that a large tragedy could purpose its finishing. Way earlier than the show started, the Browns, headed by using Billy and Amy Brown, chose to stay in a way that turned into in the direction of nature, more related to the land, and away from what maximum people don't forget regular comforts. Billy had come from Texas, but turned into interested in the uncooked, untamed components of Alaska. He desired his circle of relatives to stay a simpler lifestyles, counting on every other and the land, which meant giving up the conveniences that maximum households depend upon. Ami, his wife, supported this vision, and collectively they moved in addition and similarly into Alaska's desolate tract, subsequently locating a far-flung vicinity to call home. Building a refuge within the Alaskan wilderness wasn't clean, specifically given the extreme weather situations. The winters were brutal, with temperatures losing nicely below freezing. Knowing this, the circle of relatives built their own cabins, the use of the resources round them, with wooden from the surrounding forests. They would build log shelters regularly by means of hand. Each refuge had to be long-lasting, sufficient to withstand robust winds, heavy snow, and rain. To maintain these cabins' heat, the family often depended on timber-burning stoves, the usage of logs that they had chopped themselves. This required a widespread quantity of labor, due to the fact that cutting and amassing wooden became a each-day challenge. As temperatures dropped, preserving sufficient timber for warmth became a priority. Each member of the family became worried in this system, gaining knowledge of the way to deal with an axe and reduce wood thoroughly. One of the primary ways the Browns sustained themselves became via looking. They might hunt for massive recreation, which include deer and moose, animals that provided food that could last for months if preserved efficiently. The meat from an unmarried animal could be cautiously rationed and preserved through drying or smoking to make certain it would remain through the wintry weather months when meals become scarcer. Every hunt was a set attempt, requiring staying power, expertise at the panorama, and an understanding of animal behavior. Fishing became another critical part of their weight loss plan. Alaskan rivers and coastal regions provided a herbal deliver of fish, particularly salmon, which might be smoked or salted to remaining longer. Fishing wasn't just about catching enough for a meal, it became about catching sufficient to shop for later. The Browns became skilled at maintaining fish, growing makeshift smokehouses to dry and cure their capture, and gaining knowledge of a way to preserve their food safe from wild animals like bears. Foraging became a daily pastime, specifically at some point of the warmer months. The Browns found out to identify safe-to-eat flora, berries, and mushrooms that grew inside the wild. This information was important because it allowed them to add range to their diet. They knew which berries had been safe to eat and which to keep away from, as well as which flowers had medicinal homes that could be used if someone got ill. Living inside the Alaskan desolate tract required a reliable water source, and this changed into a sizable problem for the Browns. They often lived near streams, rivers, or natural springs to get entry to clean water. However, ingesting immediately from these resources wasn't usually secure. The circle of relatives developed ways to purify their water, the use of techniques like boiling or filtering it with rocks, sand, and charcoal. During colder months, locating water became even more challenging. Streams may want to freeze over, making it difficult to collect water. When this took place, they might melt snow or ice, taking the time to ensure they had sufficient water, no longer handiest to drink but also to cook and wash. Collecting and storing enough water became an ongoing undertaking that required constant interest, in particular in winter. Clothing changed into some other crucial aspect in their survival approach. The Browns had to be organized for Alaska's severe climate situations, which frequently intended developing or adapting their own garb. They found out a way to layer efficaciously, using fur and different herbal substances for insulation. They could often reuse and repurpose clothing gadgets, stitching together materials to create coats, gloves, and hats. Over time, they advanced practical strategies to make certain everybody had suitable equipment. Living off the land required each person's involvement, and each member of the family played a function in the survival of the organization. Children were taught survival abilities from a younger age, the way to chop timber, identify fit for human consumption flowers, hunt, and fish. The own family also needed to be bendy and resourceful. If something broke, they fixed it themselves, often using anything substances have been to be had. Necessity driven them to learn how to make their very own maintenance, whether or not it became fixing a cabin roof or mending a fishing net. Self-reliance wasn't just a lifestyle, it turned into a need for survival. Living far from any towns or hospitals meant that the circle of relatives couldn't depend on medical assistance. If someone were given unwell or injured, they had to understand basic first useful resource and locate herbal remedies in their environment. Certain flowers they foraged were used for medicinal purposes, assisting to relieve minor illnesses. In case of more severe accidents, their only option changed into tour to the closest metropolis, which will be hours or maybe days away. This would also make them man as the safe and supportive adversary. This distance made the own family greater careful, as the excessive damage may want to suggest a lifestyle-threatening situation. Though they lived far from populated regions, the Browns occasionally interacted with different Alaskan settlers or townsfolk. These connections have been minimum, however, should now and again be beneficial in acquiring sources or getting to know new competencies. In a few instances, they may alternate with different locals for resources they couldn't produce themselves. The Discovery Channel methods an unusual circle of relatives. For years, they lived in relative isolation, developing a lifestyle of self-reliance that few ought to healthy. In 2014, Alaskan bush people debuted, taking pictures of the Brown family's adventure of surviving the unforgiving Alaskan wasteland, their daily struggles, and their manner of life. Boundary Land. Each member of the Brown circle of relatives contributed something precise to their story, and viewers quickly have become interested in their resilience, feel of adventure, and the deep bond they shared. At its coronary heart, the display turned into approximately own family and the precise lifestyle that they had built within the middle of nowhere.